What's up guys, my name's Liam and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Drunkdeer G75 gaming keyboard. I've already gone over a lot of the Drunkdeer keyboards on my channel in the past, but this new one does have new features like the release dual trigger, RT+, and they've even included some of the brand new Raisha silent switches. So how's this going to stack up against competition, and more importantly, is this going to be the perfect gaming keyboard for you? Let's check it out. Before we get started, I did want to let you know this was sent out to me. However, everything you're going to be hearing in this video is going to be my own words and my own opinions. For the layout, they did decide to go with a little bit more of a compact design compared to the A75 or the A75 Pro. This little ring that you see right here around the edges, this is actually a silicone piece, so it does feel like a type of a rubber piece there, and then it does kind of sit on top of this bottom plastic casing. And with the design that they have over here on the back, this bar up at the top does make the keyboard just naturally a little bit slanted, and they're still using this design where the feet have a little bit of movement and give to them, so it does give the keyboard a little bit more of a cushionier feeling as you're pushing on it really hard, or if you're to type on it somewhat aggressively. But up here in the top corners, they do have these flip outs if you wanted to give your keyboard more of an angle, and there is still these rubberized bottoms here on the flip outs to give you some additional grip. But back over here on the top, they still do have the USB-C connectivity up here in the top left hand side. The keycaps that come included feel like standard PBT keycaps. They're not shine through, and I don't currently see an option to where when picking this up you are able to get the shine through keycaps included with this. This does come included with these standard Raisha switches that we've seen in many other types of keyboards before. All their previous Drunkdeer keyboards were using these, so I've actually talked about these quite a bit. I've seen these listed in some places as an initial of 40 with the bottom out of 60. On their website, however, they are listing them as an initial of 30 with the bottom out still of 60, plus or minus 10 GF, which does seem fair because when going back and forth and comparing these to my Licker 60s that are rated at an initial 40 and bottom out of 60, these do feel a little bit lighter than that. And when looking for the specifications of these new silent switches, I don't see any difference in the listed specifications of the weight. However, they do feel like they are a little bit heavier to me than these original Raisha switches, and I would say that the original ones, they do feel just all around a little bit lighter and a little bit more snappy. And the internal design between both of these still looks somewhat similar. They're using this wider single rail design. It does, however, look like it is slightly modified over here on these brand new silent switches, and I did kind of notice going back and forth when testing them next to each other, these silent switches do appear to have just a little bit less of stem wobble to me. So for the gaming performance, I still slightly prefer these original Raisha switches over these silent switches. However, I must say that these silent switches, they do sound much better, and they do offer a better feeling experience when you're using them just for regular typing. So really, at the end of the day, it just comes down to your personal preference. So I'll go ahead and drop a really quick sound comparison between both of them. But underneath the keycaps, here's a close-up here of what the tray looks like with the switches in it. In case you're wondering why I have just a few of these silent switches in here, they just sent out a couple of them to me to test out, so that's why I did put them on the WASD, and I actually put it down here on the space bar, so it does give it a little bit more of a nicer sound signature there. But typical stuff, you just have it mounted in the tray right here. They are separating the tray from the PCB with this silicone sound dampening gasket. And then over here on the bottom, here's a close-up look of what the PCB itself looks like. And then underneath that, here's a look of the tray. Sorry if my finger gets in the way here, it keeps losing focus. So that's why I keep putting it there to make sure it maintains focus. But it is just another outlined silicone gasket down here in the bottom. It does kind of come up the edges and stick out here at the top, and then down at the bottom is where you just have the plastic tray. You can conveniently access software through this web-based driver, and the second that you connect in here, over here on the top left hand side is where it allows you to adjust several different coloring options, or you can do some type of a custom static light preset. Over on the right, as you can see, you have your brightness and your speed. The most important tab is going to be over here on the performance section. They do have this turbo mode right here that is supposed to give you a faster response time and reduce latency. When you do select this, the lighting on your keyboard does become static. Currently, it just sits at this blue light setting. I do wish that there was an option where they allow you to change that color I would prefer it to be some type of white colorway or something like that. But then down here is where you can enable the rapid trigger function. So I'll just kind of breeze this really quick. I've already gone over this in a few of my videos. You'll need to select all of the keys over here, or you can do it individually if you wanted to make any type of adjustments to your keys. And coming down here is the initial actuation point. You can set as low as 0.2 millimeters. It does then allow you to adjust it within 0.1 millimeter increments after that, and it does allow you to go all the way down to 3.8 millimeters. I have mine set to 0.2. This works fine for me. I don't have any issues with accidentally hitting keys or anything like that. Then over here for the rapid trigger settings, the downstroke and the upstroke, the setting at 0 millimeters, I do believe this does have it turned off. The lowest you can set it is the 0.1 millimeter, and then again this does go in 0.1 millimeter increments as well, all the way to 3.6. So I've already gone over these settings quite a bit. These are just the settings that I use. So let's jump into the rapid trigger, or excuse me, the RT plus and the release dual trigger function. First off, getting started off right off the bat, the one thing is you cannot enable both these all at once, so you kind of have to pick or choose. So this release dual trigger is just basically a DKS setting. What you'll need to do to set it up between two keys is, first off, you have this first setting right here. You can click on this, come over here. So if I wanted to, for example, do the A key, as you can see, it sets both these to A. You can actually shrink this and make these closer together like that, or just leave it on the default setting, and then you'll need to select the reset key. So in this case, I'd probably want to do something like D. So what this does is, if you're playing a game where this makes a big impact, is going to be something like Valorant or CSGO, as you're going to be strafing to the left. The second that you release the key, it will activate the D key. There's also obviously a bunch of different other varying options you can use this for. Like for example, with Apex Legends, you can do this so that when you press it down, it will jump, and then once you release it, it'll crouch to help you do smoother super glides. But this style of DKS functionality has actually been around for a while, and what is a little bit newer to the scene over here is this last win button. This is actually going to enable the RT plus functionality, and this is something more similar to something like Snap Tap. So really quickly, to show you how to set this up, I went ahead and deleted my group that I already had on there. You just simply hit the add group button, and I'll come up here and I'll do it between both the A and the D key. So essentially, when you're using these as your left and right functions for movement, while you're holding down, say for example, your left, you can still continue holding it down and press down D. So without any delay, this will just rapidly change direction, and whatever the last detected input is on a key, it is going to override that from the previous key that you're already in the middle of pressing. And just a really quick note on this, you can only set it between two keys. So if you wanted to do AD and add any additional keys in there, unfortunately it does not give you the capability to do so. Also, if you wanted to, say, bind it to W and A while you already have A and D selected, if A is already selected in a previous group, it will not allow you to bind that to another key as well. So finally, when you're all done making any of your adjustments to your rapid trigger settings, or if you were to set up the release dual trigger or the RT plus, you'll want to come over here and hit this save to keyboard option to make sure all those settings do save. And then finally over here, you do have the remap function, where it does allow you to change or remapping the keys you choose to do so, even your function keys as well. And here is the type of keys that it does allow you to switch everything to. For the latency testing, I did use my solenoid rig with a high-speed camera, and as I've already mentioned, I've already done this test several times with the previous Drunkdeer keyboards, and the result that I've always found is, in a real-world experience, there wasn't a whole lot of a difference that you can really tell between the Drunkdeer platform and the Wooting in terms of movement, depending on the game you're playing. And with this keyboard, I am still using beta drivers, so potentially there could be a room for improvement here. This time around, when I did perform these tests, however, I did find that running it on this keyboard for the press and release 10 times versus the Wooting 60HE 10 times, the Wooting actually did come out ahead, and it won in the results 8 out of 10 times. I know this isn't necessarily something that you're going to notice so much in a real world experience. They really weren't that far apart from one another, especially when you are using the RT Plus mode. It does make it feel a lot more responsive. Hopefully this is going to be something that they will be able to address when they do finally have a finalized driver update. Alright guys, so that about wraps things up on the Drunkdeer G75. So the price of this is currently sitting at $109, and based off of the performance and the features that it does come with, this does seem to be a pretty fair price. There is, however, a lot more competition coming out with a lot more of a premier feeling as far as a full aluminum tray and stuff like that goes. This 75% layout is pretty rare in itself, so I do feel like this does sit pretty competitively in the market. I personally, however, would like to see Drunkdeer come out with some more premium options, some all aluminum cases, a little bit of a heavier filling. But as this currently stands, if you are on a budget, this is a pretty decent performing option. So if you have any additional questions, please let me know down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed watching this video and are interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.